Yo soy el sol de la sabiduría y el océano del conocimiento. Animo a los desfallecidos y hago revivir a los muertos. Yo soy la luz de guía que ilumina el camino. Yo soy el halcón real, posado en el brazo del Todopoderoso. Despliego las alas caídas de toda herida y le ayudo a remontar el vuelo. Yo soy.
您的圣容是我仰慕的对象，您的圣美是我的必应，您的住所是我的目标，您的赞美是我的祈愿，您的眷佑是我的良棒，您的爱是我生命之源。称颂你是我的慰藉，亲近你是我的希望。您的临在是我最珍贵的愿望与最深切的期盼。我恳求你任命我，如同任命你所拣选的仆役们一般，继而惠赐我今生与来世一切善美的事物。诚然，你是全人类的君王，除你之外别无上帝。您是永恒宽仁者，博施济众者。好。
Oh, hijo de ser, tú eres mi lámpara y mi luz está en ti. Obtén de ella tu resplandor y no busques a nadie sino a mí, pues te he creado rico y he derramado generosamente mi favor sobre ti, oh hijo de ser. Tú eres mi lámpara y mi luz está en ti. Obtén de ella tu resplandor y no busques a nadie sino a mí, pues este creado rico y he derramado generosamente mi favor sobre ti.
Welcome, friends. What a beautiful evening this is. What a very beautiful evening this is. Thank you for participating and thank you for creating such a wonderful space. Thank you, Sho, for being here. Thank you, Monajun. And also, of course, last but not the least, Mariam Jan and Tiago. I have the honor of introducing my second cousin, whom I've never met before, to you tonight. And it has been a very emotional evening for me because Tiago's grandfather was my uncle who went to meet the guardian of the Baha'i faith in Haifa and never came back to Iran, except for short visits. And he continued his life pioneering in different places and with utmost difficulty. Of course, the children and grandchildren have been instrumental in creating different communities and very, very successful Baha'i endeavors. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing Tiago to you. Tiago doesn't speak Farsi, but I speak Farsi. But Tiago speaks so many other languages. So that's why we can smile at each other. And it is a celebration for me to introduce him to you. Tiago Masrour is who has resided in Chile for the past 30 years, participated in the management of the construction of the Baha'i House of Worship in South America. In Chile, Tiago works as general manager of the scientific research center. Tiago, is it Ciencia or Ciencia?
Ciencia.
Ciencia and Vida.
Yes.
He also serves as regional representative of the Baha'i International Community to the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean since 2021. Tiago has an MSc in Global Technology and Development from the School for the Future of Innovation in Society of Arizona State University, and also a BS in Computer Engineering, and is KAICIID, is a member of KAICIID and is a fellow and trainer. I checked KAICIID, and it is an interreligious dialogue between the youth. And I saw so many beautiful things on YouTube, and I would encourage everyone to actually look at it. Tiago, I'm very grateful. Thank you for accepting to be here. Mariam Jan, I'm grateful to you as well. So please go ahead, Tiago. Tiago's topic tonight is construction and impact of the Baha'i House of Worship of South America. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. It is really a very warm welcoming, and it's a beautiful time of the year to participate in such a gathering. As most Baha'is around the world are fasting and preparing for the new year, it's always a great opportunity to reflect upon our actions and upon what we have been able to do and contribute and share it with others with joy and happiness. And so this invitation to be able to be with all of you, to get to know you and share a little bit of my experience is really a great honor. So thank you very much for this invitation. Thank you all for being here with us this evening. As Farouz was saying, most of us are about to break the fast or have just broken the fast. So it's the end of the day. I hope my voice will not betray me. But the idea was to share a few images and a few perceptions around this great endeavor that has been the construction of a house of worship, of a continental house of worship. And I have to say that although I was part of the management team, my role was to help and accompany. And there were great people, great minds, great artists doing the heavy work. I was there helping to coordinate and facilitate some of the processes throughout many years. And so it put me in a special position to witness this greatness of the work, that is to build something dedicated to the well-being and development of humanity, especially as this stage of our common development, where we see so many tragic situations, we see so many pain and mistrust and difficulties. It's really special to for all of us to be able to contribute somehow to these civilization building efforts in our lives. And so now to be able to share it with you really is amazing. If I may, I will share my screen so you can, here, you should be able to see now the images. So this is the end result of all the work. This is after many years of effort, what we were able to achieve. But as the invitation mentioned, this is the culmination of over 100 years of work, because throughout the world, on each and every continent, generation after generation, many communities have contributed to build some of these temples in every land. And so, if I may, I will just go about some of the history behind that, where it comes from and why it has been done. And it all starts with a very direct mandate from Baha'u'llah himself in his most holy book, where he says, "O people of the world, build ye houses of worship throughout the land in the name of him who is the Lord of all religions. Make them as perfect as is possible in the world of being, and adorn them with that which befits them, not with images or effigies." And this is the cornerstone of all these efforts of why houses of worships, or Mashriqu'l-Adhkár, as the writings call them, are being built nowadays, and why these sometimes Herculean efforts are being made. And the very first one was near the point of origin of the Baha'i faith, north of Iran in Turkmenistan. This is a representation of what it might have looked like, since we only have black and white pictures, but an artist took one of those pictures and put it some color and effect to show us what it might have looked like. This is the very first Baha'i house of worship that was first instructed or approved by Baha'u'llah himself, and then given instructions by his son and head of the Baha'i community after Baha'u'llah's passing, Abdul Baha, who instructed how it should be built and its details and the architectural components of it. And that was the blueprint for future houses of worship. Actually, Abdul Baha says in one of his tablets, when he was speaking to the Baha'is of North America in United States and Canada, when they had proposed to build a house of worship in the West, they said as to the design of the Mashriqu'l-Adhkár, it should resemble the Mashriqu'l-Adhkár of Ishkabad. That is, it must be a 9-sided edifice and should be erected so as to evince the utmost spirituality, elegance, loftiness, refinement, and grace, in such wise that it becometh a place which is full of charm. Insofar as possible, effort should be exerted towards ensuring the pleasantness of the site, its freshness and beauty. These somewhat simple words, these very specific guidance has been enough to inspire multiple generations of architects to design and develop houses of worship for now over 100 years. Actually, Shoghi Effendi, who was just mentioned, specifically says that the essentials of the design as stipulated by Abdul Baha are that the building should be 9-sided and circular in shape. Aside from this, the architect is not restricted in any way in choosing his style of design. And while it sounds simple, it's actually tricky. How do we combine all these qualities? How do we put in practice all these principles into architecture? How do we translate that into action? And it has been always the great challenge and question for those who have endeavored to design a house of worship. This being the first of these houses of worship led to the construction of all the following continental house of worship. Right after it, we had, let me point, no, that's not the one. Just a second. There. So we have Ishkabad that was dedicated and open to the public in 1919, so a little over 100 years ago. And then after that, some 30-something years later, in Wilmette, Chicago, the Mother Temple for the West was dedicated after many decades of tremendous effort. And after that, the Shoghi Effendi, the guardian of the Baha'i faith, guided the construction of continental houses of worship in Africa, in Kampala, in Australia, in Sydney, in Europe, in Frankfurt, Germany. And then the Universal House of Justice continued with the same line of work in Panama, in Western Samoa, and finally in India. So from the beginning of the 20th century all the way to the 1980s, we had these constructions happening one by one. And at that point, at the beginning of the new century, the 21st century, the House of Justice indicated that it was time to go to the next stage. And it says, but this continental stage has yet to be completed. One more edifice remains to be built. It is with profound thankfulness and joy that we announce at this auspicious moment, that was in 2001, the decision to proceed with this last project. During the 5-year plan between 2001 and 2006, erection of the Mother Temple of South America in Santiago, Chile will commence, and thus fulfill a wish clearly expressed by Shoghi Effendi. So all of this had been planned out, all of this had been expressed in different letters and plans and directions, and it was time to conclude the continental stage of the construction of the houses of worship. And so began this amazing journey that was to rethink how not just the house of worship, but the community around it should evolve and transform at this time of our common development and growth. And it all starts with a very simple idea, which is this idea of an edifice, a building that can embody light. And based on that, the team of architects led by Siamak Hariri, who is, I believe, close to all of you, started working on what it could look like. And given the time we have and the topic we're trying to develop, I'm not going to go into the details of all the stages of the design, but at least to share a few of the images that sprung the first ideas behind this project. Very simple lines, very simple drawings to inspire, but quickly this became not just drawings, but actually a three-dimensional development through software that was then mirrored through physical models and fed back into the softwares so as to continue developing images until they reached the point where something was emerging that really inspired them into saying, we're approaching what we're looking for. And this continue evolving into reaching a much clearer line of design, and finally what would become the blueprint for this building. Now, at this point, it is important to understand that the first 2 years after 2001, so between 2001 and 2003, the different teams of architects around the world were preparing their own designs. The National Assembly here in Chile was entrusted by the House of Justice to receive the designs from offices and architects and anybody actually who wanted to share a project worldwide. And over 180 designs were presented from all over the world, literally. And then those were shared with the World Center, and a pre-selection of 4 designs was then made. And finally, the design by the Office of CIAMAC was selected as the project architects. So that was early 2003. After that, as any project went into much more detailed and specific technical design, going floor by floor, line by line, little by little, constructing the basic elements of what should become this building. And I'm going quickly from one to the other because the idea is not to go into the specific technical details, but it became a much clearer vision of what could be done. However, it quickly was identified that this couldn't be done by traditional means, not traditional architecture, not traditional engineering, and the materials couldn't be just any material. And while it seemed strange, this very inspiring and spiritual project became also very technical. And software that was rarely used in architecture began to be used, talking about 20 years ago, a little bit over 20 years ago, to be able to identify each little piece of this building, to label them, to dimension them, to be able to determine how they would fit with one another, and to be able to then produce and fabricate or construct them later on. And this was a significant jump into what was traditionally being done. And nowadays it seems very natural, and many offices use these same kinds of techniques. But I can assure you that 20 years ago, people would look at the work that was being done and be a little bit confused. Why are you using software that usually will be used to design cars or airplanes? It's not meant to build to design buildings. And the team behind CIAMAC would say, because it's the only one that can really fulfill the requirements we have, because this building is so different from anything that has been done before. And so it went on until a complete design, a set of not just drawing, but actually databases and software were ready to move on to the next stage. At this point, it's around 2006. We had been for 3 years searching for the proper site where to build it. It, again, might seem strange, but although there was a site originally in 2001 when the House of Justice announced the call for projects, we quickly realized in 2003 that the site that was previously chosen wasn't adequate for this house of worship. And so for over 3 years, we had to search for a new property. And just to give you a glimpse of what it looked like, this is an aerial map of Santiago. It's low resolution because it's, as you can see on the image, says 2006. So we didn't have the precisions we have nowadays. And here we see at least 25 different sites that were being evaluated at that moment. In total, we looked at over 50 properties to try to find one that would fit the requirements of the architect, the requirements of a place described as Abdul Baha did in that little passage that I read, where it says it has to be fresh and it has to be welcoming and it has to be inspiring. And it wasn't simple. We went over many alternatives and options. A couple of them we actually engaged in either purchasing or looking at permitting to make sure that it was feasible. And by 2006, things were getting ready to be fabricated and brought to Chile, and we still didn't have a property. One area we were looking in particular, here you can see in red on the screen, was this side of the city of Santiago, for a very simple reason, and I'm going to try to show you in the next image. It's the Andes. It's the mountain chain that accompanies Santiago, and that has a very powerful presence. And from the very first day, Siamak had said, the image we have of the house of worship is connected to this mountain range. It's connected to how the presence of the Andes influences the city and is connected to nature and to its surroundings. So we were looking at areas along the city wherever it was feasible. And in particular, we reached, Santiago is subdivided in over 30 communes, each one with their own municipalities and administration and so on. And we arrived at this area in particular, which is called Peñalolén, which is a commune. At that time, we didn't know, we didn't have the data, but it is the most diverse commune in Santiago. It is diverse in terms of its population, in terms of its income and social components, and it is very well connected to the mountain. And that's where we found the property where the house of worship now sits. After some initial difficulties, of course, nothing was free of challenges along this project, but that's where we found the property, and I'll show more about it in a moment. But based on that property, so the next stage was, okay, how do we position the temple, how it connects with the rest of the property? It used to be a club with rugby and golf, and so all the natural elements had been stripped out of it, and grass and non-native plants had been put there. And so the idea was, how do we recuperate and regrow what is natural to this space? And little by little, the idea was then formed in how every element around the house of worship can come together and how it can become suitable for this amazing project. And so this went on for some time, while in parallel, preparations were made for the construction itself. And the construction is separated in two major areas. On the left, we have the blunt of the work, which is the concrete and everything that happens on site, which will give the foundations and the structures to this building. But on the right, you can see is the superstructure, the dome that comes on top of it. And this was done almost entirely outside of Chile. In different countries, both in North America and mostly Europe, the different parts were being built and shipped to Chile to be put together like a big puzzle or a Lego, a three-dimensional puzzle. And so the project of construction itself began. As I mentioned, here we were working directly with the foundations. And if you look here, the columns that will support the building all have a little box on top of it. I don't know if you can see it or guess it on the screen. And those little boxes are actually what will protect the temple from earthquakes, because Chile is prone to a lot of movement. We regularly have some shaking and moving. And so a building that was going to be built out of marble and glass needed to be properly protected. So we have 10 seismic isolators that separate the building itself from the rest of the ground. If you look here, you can see the light coming through the foundation because the bases of the building doesn't touch the ground. It has over a meter of distance, allowing movement in case of an earthquake and not being shaken directly. Again, nowadays, we see it in many buildings here, but at that point, it was not something new to have isolators, but the technology used in this building wasn't used regularly in Chile. So on the one hand, it was an engineering development that was very welcome. We were helped with a couple of universities and specialists here in California and in Toronto. However, it also presented its own sets of problems because the authorities and the regulators didn't know how to measure or approve them, and we had to go through a series of motions to obtain the permits just for the isolators and to meet with the local regulation. While this was being prepared on site, in this case in Germany, the steelwork was being done. And this is the ring that will bring together all 9 wings at the very top of the building. It's the crown, so to say, of the building that will hold everything together. And contrary to many buildings, where one would think this is the last piece one would put on top of the building, that was the very first piece that was brought on site, because it was the point to which everything else had to come together and to achieve millimetric precision to fasten all the pieces and be there. So it was brought first on site. It was located in its position and never moved from there ever since. You had scaffolding to hold it initially, but little by little, all the steel frames and the superstructure was brought up to reach that top final point. And amazingly, everything matched and reached its destination within a couple of centimeters. So while it looks simple on drawing, and once it's built, it feels natural, it was a lot of emotion around making those first pieces just match and be able to fasten them and bring all and every single one of these metal segments together. That was one part. The other one is the interior of the building, and that was coming from Portugal. The marble was selected at a quarry in Portugal because it has a translucent quality to it. It's not just plain white marble. It's a marble that, put against the light, allows some translucency to come through and generates a beautiful warm glow to it. And so it was prepared in Portugal. It was then shipped to Germany, where aluminum frame were put on each one of them so they could be fastened to the superstructure. And little by little, those parts came and was all put together. And it's over 800 different shapes and sizes and pieces of marble for each one of the 9 wings. The 9 wings are identical, so the first one was achieved, and the other ones were okay. We'll make it work now. But again, it's all a very, very precise and delicate, how to say, coordination in space. While all of this was happening, the exterior skin of the temple was being prepared in your area, because it came from a workshop from Toronto. An artisan was working on finding the right glass to cover the house of worship. And again, it's a unique material. It was never done before, and as far as I know, it has never been reproduced since. This was specifically designed and produced for this project, and it took, I would dare to say, hundreds of samples before reaching the right material, because it had to have the proper texture and feeling, the proper light coming through, but also the material had to be strong enough to endure the movement, any shifting that might happen. It had to withstand differences of temperature, rising very quickly or cooling very quickly throughout the day. So there were a lot of restrictions about how that material had to behave. And finally, it was produced, and little by little, it was set up and put all together on the temple. And again, the end result is really breathtaking. Is really hard to transmit with word, and even with images, one can just have a general feeling. But being inside this building and being able to feel the light coming through and change throughout the day is quite unique experience. I hope Mona will be able to share a little bit of how she has had the opportunity to be there. Or anyone else has been here in Santiago and visited, maybe you also could share a little bit. And so this whole idea of light and how it moves throughout the day and how it illuminates different parts of the building is really essential to the experience of the visitors. And it really enheightens the main central purpose of this edifice, which is to commune with our Creator, to be able to reflect and get in touch with our own spirit and allow it to elevate towards something greater than us. And at least in my own experience, it achieves it every single time, because stepping inside a building like this and allowing our mind and our spirit to just be inspired by its surroundings is quite beautiful. But also the surrounding happening around it is an experience in and of itself. Because of these glass bays all around the building, one has a direct connection either towards the city, which is below us, below the house of worship. This is the city of Santiago at night. But on the other sides and angles, we have gardens and green areas and the mountain. And so wherever we might be looking, there will be a grand view, a grand experience. So both looking inside and outside brings a different feeling to our heart. And actually, if I may say a couple of words about the work around the building, which is not as important, but almost as important as the building itself. Transmit this experience of connecting with nature, connecting with God's creation, and really enhancing the whole experience and the building itself. And for this, a Chilean landscaper was invited to work with CMAC's team. And he really had a vision on how nature near the temple is rich and quite developed and colorful, but little by little, it just blends with the rest of the landscape, the natural landscape of the mountains. And so when one is walking in the gardens or looking from the temple, it's impossible to see where the gardens end or where the property ends, because it gives the impression that it just keeps on continuing for miles and miles and miles, for kilometers and kilometers, and never ends. And that was part of the intention behind the design of it. And of course, the first one was just a drawing. It became something much more technical. And as I mentioned, it went back to the roots of what is the natural landscape of this region of the Andes, and how it really connects with the house of worship. And so this is how it came to be a landmark, an icon within the city. I don't know if you can see the little dot in the center, the white dot here. That is our house of worship right next to the snow and the mountain range coming down towards it, and the rest of the city just below it. And it has attracted the attention of not thousands, but actually millions of people in Santiago, in Chile, and from other countries. Surprisingly to us, we weren't expecting it originally, but people come specifically to Santiago knowing that they're going to visit the house of worship. They come to Chile knowing that part of what they need to go and see is the Baha'i house of worship, because it is a point of attraction, and they quickly realize it's not just a physical or architectural feat, it's actually something that goes much beyond that. Here's another view rendered by Google Earth, but that shows a little bit how it's embraced by this nature and this surrounding. And this is what part of what creates the spirit of everything that happens around it, and that allows us to connect with the rest of the city just below the house of worship. And so having a building in itself is not a goal, it's not an objective. It's simply a means, a channel for something that we know is greater than any one of us, and even all of us together. And that's why constantly throughout the project and afterwards, while we were consulting and finding new ways of developing the community that is supporting this house of worship, we had to go back to the writings, the Baha'i writings, and understand what that purpose meant. And there are many quotes to choose from, but I decided to select a couple of them. One being that all men have been created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. And when we think about how all these technical elements, how these fabrication processes, different teams from around the world coming together, both volunteers and professionals working hand in hand, are actually contributing to an advancing civilization. How they're contributing to the transformation of basic fundamental understandings of ourselves and society. But that's just one initial step. Going a little bit further, we can connect now to the purpose of the building itself. And it goes back now to Abdul Baha explaining to us that although to outward seeming the Mashriqu'l-Adhkár is a material structure, yet it has a spiritual effect. It forges bonds of unity from heart to heart. It is a collective center for men's souls. And this is not just a good intention. This is actually the experience of, I would dare to say, the vast majority of people visiting the house of worship. Many just come without knowing anything about what the building is or represents. Many have actually very creative ideas of what it could be. They arrive there because they're attracted either by the beauty of the design, or because they received a recommendation from someone, or simply because they were with a group that decided to visit. But very quickly, as they enter and move through the gardens, when they're received by the guides and the friends serving there, and receive an introduction or basic instructions on what is happening there and what it's all about, they realize, and their attitude changes drastically. And the people coming back down from the house of worship, from the temple side, from the building, have a very different conversation, a very different discourse than when they were growing up. And the transformation happens right before our eyes. It happens in mere minutes because it does have this spiritual effect. Just coming, walking through the lanes, going up the stairs, entering the building, allowing oneself to be influenced by the surroundings really has a profound effect. And then we see people coming over and over and over again because they continue to try to connect with that spiritual influence. And that's one of the first emanations from this edifice. But then we can go one step further, another one. And I'm sorry if the quote is a bit longer, but it really captures what has been guiding the efforts of the Baha'i community of Chile for the past 15 to 20 years. And it's from Shoghi Effendi that explains that, however inspiring the conception of Baha'i worship as witnessed in the central edifice of this exalted temple, it cannot be regarded as the sole nor even the essential factor in the part which the Mashri'ql-Adhkár, as designed by Baha'u'llah, is destined to play in the organic life of the Baha'i community. Divorced from the social, humanitarian, educational, and scientific pursuits, Baha'i worship can never hope to achieve beyond the meager and often transitory results produced by the contemplations of the ascetic or the communing of the passive worshipper. It cannot afford lasting satisfaction and benefit to the worshipper himself, much less to humanity in general, unless and until translated and transfused into the dynamic and disinterested service to the cause of humanity. And this is probably the most central part of our conversations here, with the visitors, with the friends, with anyone that has some level of interaction, is to reflect upon this idea of how can we contribute and serve humanity. And again, as I was saying at the very beginning, we are all going through very challenging and troubling times. And finding a space where the conversation revolves around this idea of how do we contribute, how do we build, how do we transform, really calls the attention and inspires many to continue having the conversation and asking, well, how is it done? How do you do it? And the challenge is, of course, for us to be able to reflect these ideas and these principles and say, well, we're able to move forward in that direction in a, I would say, humble and learning way, because we don't necessarily have the answers. We're still discovering how it takes place and how we can make it expand and develop further. But we have some basic ideas, at least, or clear views based on our principles and our actions and all the efforts that have been done throughout the world over the past decades. But then it translates into something very practical also. And so people are invited, for example, to help with the gardens and work there. And again, it will be a combination of a small group of professionals who will guide the volunteers or guide the people who are interested in participating in contributing to the beautification of the surroundings of the temple. That will also translate into creating and developing a nursery and a greenhouse, because as I mentioned earlier, the idea was to bring back to life the species that are natural to this area. And so a group of friends, very enlightened friends, started gathering seeds from the trees in this area and went to a university who helped them to regrow these trees. And little by little, they were able to reforest around the temple and the road going down from it. it is also something as simple as participating in activities of cleaning and really expressing the same dedication to the beauty and all it means. And we regularly have people of all ages helping with that somehow. Mana maybe can share also some experience around that if she wants to. There's a lot of maintenance going around, but then it also becomes something more systematic. And so children classes happening all around the city and in different neighborhoods and houses and whatnot also come to the house of worship and participate there. And it is quite touching to see children of different ages expressing their own reverence to this space, the way they will recite or chant prayers, or simply sit quietly and really observe and be inspired by this space at a very young age. And we see it over and over again, even from children that come here for the very first time and connect with that spirit. Likewise, the junior youth and the youth have taken the habit of gathering and using this space as a point of reference for their activities. And so regularly they will have campamentos, camps throughout the year and during the summer, and gathering at night and stay there until dawn to be able to share prayers and chant at dawn. And so a lot of different activities go around that. And of course, there's a lot of dedication to learning, training, developing capacities, making sure that it's not just, again, as the quote of Shoghi Effendi was mentioning, not just a good intention that quickly dissolves, but it actually becomes systematic action, and it translates into going through different courses and going through different programs, and then transforming that into action back in their own neighborhoods, in their own towns and cities. We also, because of the requests that arrive, have thematic talks and conversations. Sometimes it's a general talk to the visitors, but it will also be a very specific one for groups of students of a university that came to learn more about engineering or architecture, or to learn more about social impact of actions that are being undertaken. And they request that a talk be given to them to be able to cover those different topics and learn more about it. And it becomes a whole interaction around and through that. And finally, it really becomes this social movement where dozens and hundreds are being involved little by little and gaining more and more experiences on how to move forward all of these processes. And then it's replicated in different homes and in different neighborhoods in very simple ways, but also in more and more evolved and refined ways, where we see, for example, something as simple as a gathering of mothers in a neighborhood, getting together week after week to start discussing how they can improve the conditions of that same neighborhood, of their streets and houses, how to improve the security for their children or nephews or grandchildren. And it becomes so specific to that neighborhood that the municipality starts saying, well, what's happening here? We've never seen a movement like that, something that is both pacific and very gentle, so to say, but at the same time that is making profound changes and transformation in the area. And they're doing it all, agreeing with one another, and there's no big fights and discussions and desires for leadership or showing off, but simply to serve the rest of the people. And this is done by the inhabitants of these areas, regardless of their origins and beliefs and wherever they might have come from. It's simply the desire to contribute to the betterment of their little piece of humanity. And in particular, this is reflected in the work with the children and the junior youth, who group after group after group are participating and are really enjoying these processes. And of course, it has been a focus of the Baha'i community, again, over the past 2 or 3 decades with a very systematic approach. And we're starting to see the fruits of such an endeavor. And so to conclude, I know I might be running over time, but just to conclude and share a little bit of what it has meant to go through all of this process, all the challenges, but also the joys. I really was able to witness some amazing results. Something that was a conversation or an early friendship that started 10 years prior, bringing great help to obtaining a permit or allowing some process to move forward. I'll just mention one as an example. The house of worship is on a site that has a limited connection to public street. And so to obtain the final building permit and approvals, they requested that we build a bigger road that connected to an avenue to be able to have a better flow of transit. To be able to build that, we had to go through the property of a university that is right next to us. And for a couple of years, that discussion didn't move forward very well. Until one day, one of the representatives of the university said, "Oh, you know what? I would like to have a coffee with one of you or a couple of us, and just have a chat." And we sat down, and it was someone I had met at least 7 or 8 years before. And he recognized my name and he said, "That's why I wanted to chat with you, because I wanted to reconnect and see what's happening and how come we haven't concluded this whole negotiation and discussion around the road." And it took us one coffee to realize that actually we both wanted the same thing, and simply the communication wasn't going through properly, and the matter was resolved. After that, it just went easily forward. But it didn't happen just one time. It's something that we witnessed again and again and again. And it shows that when we're dedicated to such a high endeavor, the processes and the doors are open to us. And it just takes the effort of us moving in that direction. And so with this, the House of Justice in 2016, for the dedication of the House of Worship, indicated in their letter to the people present there that the process of raising up Baha'i House of Worship, an endeavor whose origins can be traced back to the days of the Blessed Beauty himself, has reached the point where today a mother temple stands upon the soil of every continent. That was October 2016. And with that, a new door opened. And we started seeing the design and elaboration of national and local houses of worship. And little by little, more and more of these are either opening their doors or under design. And I believe there's one, again, very close to you, as the National House of Worship for Canada is being prepared. I don't know what stage it's in, but I know it's moving forward. And it's very inspiring. I mean, I remember back in the very early days of the project when we could only foresee that state, which is, oh, we need to have a house of worship on every continent, and this is the last one. And of the people present, none of us were thinking about national or local ones. That was for the future. That was for my daughter or other generations. And very quickly, we can see that all these processes, all this transformation, all these construction of community is happening so fast that one after the other, we already have over 14 projects of these around the world. and many more to come in the next years. It's really happening very, very fast. And so the last quote, but again, I wanted to quote the Universal House of Justice when it helps us understand the meaning of what we're doing. And it highlights the central elements of these buildings and these spaces that we're creating around the world. It says the Mashriqu'l-Adhkár is a unique concept in the annals of religion and symbolizes the teachings of the new day of God. A collective center of society to promote cordial affection, the Mashriqu'l-Adhkár stands as a universal place of worship open to all the inhabitants of a locality, irrespective of their religious affiliation, background, ethnicity, or gender, and a haven for the deepest contemplation on spiritual reality and foundational questions of life, including individual and collective responsibility for the betterment of society. These men and women, children and youth are held in its embrace as equals. This singular and integral universality is captured in the very structure of the Mashriqu'l-Adhkár, whose design as a nine-sided edifice conveys a sense of completeness and perfection symbolized by that number. And so with this last image, I again wanted to express my gratitude for this invitation. Maybe I went a little bit too fast, or there are, I'm sure, a lot of questions. The idea was to invite Mona and Mariam if they wanted to share their experience as youth that have served and participated in the building, to share a little bit of their experience. And then any question or comments or remarks are more than welcome. So Mona, maybe you would like to begin?
Sure. Well, I mean, I've so much during this presentation. I did not know so much of this. So thank you. I guess I just wanted to start by sharing one of the quotes that I said probably like hundreds of times during my time serving at the House of Worship in Chile. I went there on a year after my high school. I went there for about 6 months in 2023. And so the quote that we would always say that says, "So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the heart." And I think like even before I got to Chile, I feel like already the temple and its like the spirituality that it emanates already had touched me, my family. I mean, we didn't even know Tiago and his family and Mariam. I didn't know them before I went to Chile, but really it was the temple that did bring us together as well. So I think even just yeah, the power of the temple even to bring us together. I'm already so grateful for that. And I went back recently and they so like hospitably and generously hosted me. So I feel so full for that connection that's been made. And at my time at temple, I served mostly as a guide for visitors who would come and like Tiago was mentioning, I think if I'm not mistaken, there's been more than like 2 million visitors to the temple since its inauguration. And I tried to calculate and I was like, I think during the time that I was there, I must have talked to almost 40,000 people. Because we would talk to like 400 people a day, 400 people a day, giving them introductions and sharing about the history of the Baha'i faith, around the architecture of the temple, around its implications. And I can say, after having spoken with so many people and after having sat in the temple itself and watching people and giving them prayer books, is that I've never seen a place that has brought so many people from so many diverse backgrounds together. I think it is so unique in that in its ability to bring people from all over the globe. I mean, I talked to people who lived in the same city as I did that I had never met who had come to Chile randomly. I talked to people from probably every continent, and people from all different religious backgrounds, people from all different walks of life. I think it has such a unique capacity to bring people together. Um, and I think that when you're inside the temple, because I think in one of the quotes that Tiago had put on his slides, that inside the temple there's no images or any kind of like statues, or there's nothing inside the temple other than the 9 columns, each inscribed with a different writing of Baha'u'llah. And I think it's so beautiful because there's no one speaking, there's no one that's giving a talk. It's this circular area where people sit, and I would sit and I would just watch people and kind of performing their own acts of worship, saying prayers from the prayer books we'd offer, saying their own prayers. I see people all the time crying, people hugging each other. It's a very spiritual, very emotional experience to be inside the temple. And I think it's just clear that in that moment, although one person might call himself a Christian, Muslim, Baha'i, people from all different cultures, different language backgrounds, different age groups, I think it's clear that everyone in one way or another is communing with our one God, with our one creator. And it shows truly how unified we all are, um, and shows how material existence and our spiritual existence are so interconnected, and how a piece of architecture, a piece of stone can really invoke such like emotions, spiritual susceptibility. So it was just an incredible experience, and to the point around how the the temple itself was also able to affect transformation is something that I saw every day. I mean, like, we would go around after our service, we'd go around in the city and we'd be in Ubers. And Ubers would always be like, well, why are you guys being driven up to the temple? And so we were always in conversation with people in the community around the house of worship, around its implications. And I don't think I had ever had an experience where I talked to someone and they didn't speak incredibly positively about the temple. Like, it was always such positive feelings. When you say the word Baha'i, someone would immediately they would immediately trust you. They'd immediately be joyful when they would hear that word because of the effect the temple has had on people's hearts. Um, and it really does inspire meaningful conversations. I think that quote from the House of Justice that talked about how the houses of worship inspire, um, I don't remember the exact words, but somehow it does inspire these conversations that are profound around these fundamental, I think I was saying the fundamental questions of life. Like, it really does inspire those conversations, I think, and it affirms this idea that our nature inherently is one that's spiritual, um, which is something you see at the level of the neighborhood in children's classes and junior youth groups, with youth and conversations with adults, with families, with parents. Um, Ultimately, I think the temple, I guess my final like reflection is that the temple truly is not a place just for prayer, but it inspires transformation and inspires action. Um, it inspires friendship. I've made some of my closest friends in my 6 months there. I mean, my relationship with Tiago, with Mariam and their whole family, I mean, so special. And I think it really has to do with the fact that it's a spiritual, wonderful place. Um, and sometimes when people would come to visit, I guess this is the last thing I'll say, they would say that the temple, because it has kind of an odd looking architecture, people would be like, is this like a some people would be like, is this an egg? People would be confused. But one thing I heard a lot from a lot of people is it looks like a flower bud. And I think that is very, like, it really is reflective of the temple, that it's a place that it's blooming, like Santiago is blooming, it's brimming with new opportunities, with new possibilities, with a newfound spiritual effect, like a spiritual revitalization. I mean, I think it really does have that effect, and I think it started by this beautiful temple that I feel so lucky to have been able to serve in. So.
So for me, I was practically born with the temple. My dad started the project in 2003 and I was 2 years old. So I grew up with the temple. And for me, every milestone was like, oh, that's cool. It's growing. It's like, oh, it's getting better. Oh, look at that. Now it has gardens. It's not all ugly and everything. It's like it looked pretty weird at the beginning. Sorry. But like, so when l'ouverture,
The dedication.
the dedication of the temple, when it was the dedication, I saw a lot of people get overwhelmed by seeing the temple. And for me, it was like, it's a building, it's fine. It's really nice. It's really incredible. But like, I was so acostumbrada,
Used to
it that I was like, it's fine. It's the temple. It's my second home. It's fine. So it was pretty impressive seeing all these people like get overwhelmed and feeling something that I couldn't feel because for me it was just normal. But the thing is, during the dedication, that's when I met a lot of people. There was like almost 5,000 people coming just to see the temple. Some people made a lot of sacrifices just to see the temple. And for me, it was just the building. It was my building. I went there all the time. It's not very special. It was special, but like not special in the sense of, oh, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. I was used to it. So seeing all these people feeling these feelings was really incredible for me. It was like, oh, so it has an impact. It is, people are feeling stuff. So when I started doing service there, so I started doing service there since the beginning, like even before during the construction, I was in Peñalolén helping with children's class. I was doing the choir. I was there. And so seeing the impact this one building was doing to all these people was incredible. Like so many people changing their whole lifestyles just because of that one building was something else. Like people from my school being like, oh, you're that Baha'i girl, right? Oh yeah, my dad went there and he brought the whole family. We visited, and there was this one girl that told me, yeah, my uncle loved the temple so much that when he died, we spread his ashes in the gardens. And I was like, I don't think you're allowed to do that. But okay.
That was not authorized.
Right at all. But at least she was very happy about it. She was grieving, but like she was like, he loved that temple so much. He went there every Sunday. It was a special place that we just had to do it. And I'm really sorry if that wasn't allowed. But yeah, it's weird saying that it's not a special place because it is a special place. Like it's really important for me. It's like my second home. I know it like the back of my hand. Like I've been there the whole time. But I don't have that like new, it's not new, it's not like it's not a new feeling. It's always been constant, and it's really fun being there and serving and meeting all these new people and seeing this feeling of them, like they're feeling something God, they're feeling something spiritual, religious, like they're feeling something so incredible that they just start talking to me and they're like, but how did you feel the first time that you came here? And I'm like, it's fine. It's a nice building. It's a really nice building. But just seeing people having that sensation is it's really special. So yeah, and Mona said it, like all of my very big, deep friendships, like my most important friendships were met at the temple. And for me, the temple is not like my favorite place. Like it's a nice building. Again, it's a really nice building. But like for me, every time I go to the temple, I go to KAICIID, which is just a building just next to the temple where everything where all these,
It's a community center
Yeah, it's a
where we have
community-
the activities
yeah, that's where
near the temple.
that's where stuff happens. That's where children's class happens sometimes. We have the camps there. We have the Ruhi books, the intensivos.
Intensive Institute
Yeah.
courses.
So that's where, like, not the it's the magic. That's where the magic happens. That's where people go just to study, just to be with everyone. It's just, you're there to serve and to work and to meet other people. So, like, that's my favorite building, like, next to it. I'm sorry.
That's my daughter. She's too used to the temple. That's the problem. Buruz, you're the coordinator here.
First of all, I have to say that the information was mind-boggling. I just say one sentence and then we will deal with questions. And this is very personal. During COVID, there were different people who were talking about different houses of worship. And one of the friends brought all these different slides about the house of worship in Ashgabat. And at the end of it, it showed how it was the destruction, the political destruction and the earthquake and everything. And it was only, it makes me very emotional. The door of it was standing there, a lonely door. And it showed one of the Baha'is standing there. And it was a glorious, glorious house of worship with glorious meetings of the Baha'is who were not able to meet in Iran as such. And all of a sudden I said to myself, why God? Why Baha'u'llah? I mean, this was such a center of kindness and happiness and joy. Why? And after 3 years, Tiago, you answered me, and I'm very grateful to you because nothing dies when we're dealing with the spiritual world. Everything's rejuvenate itself and come back to life, probably in a different form. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. If you would let me, Mariam Jan, thank you so much for being here. Before I ask Farid, I wanted to welcome Mr. Q Ying Singh. Please don't go anywhere. At the end, we need you to say prayers. Mr. Liu from Malaysia, you've been absent for a long time. I'm not happy. Narges Khanum, thank you for being here. And well, yes, exactly, Mr. Liu. I'm not happy at all. But anyway, please have Juliet. Maybe in about 15-20 minutes, we'll start our prayers. Thank you. Hi, Juliet. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Narges Khanum, you've been absent for too long, but we'll deal with it a little later. So please, Faride June, go ahead and ask your question.
Oh my God, really, I couldn't move. It was so powerful talk. And then, so, you know, I got Baha'i House of Worship in Chicago for 35 years. I saw 1,000 miracles. But the way you are talking, I feel I just was flying. I have few questions quickly. I don't want to take your time. I want to know daily how many people coming, how many guides you're there, how many language information pamphlet you have been giving to people. This few questions first.
Thank you, Faride June. Go for it, Tiago.
Okay. Well, it's very variable depending on the days how many visitors we receive. It will be probably a few hundreds during the week, every day. And during the weekend, you will see on Saturday and Sunday, easily thousands of people. The most we have received on record, that was before the COVID pandemic, was 18,000 visitors in one day. And as Mona mentioned, we've well passed the 2 million visitors since the dedication of the House of Worship. In terms of guides, the short answer is never enough. We always need more friends serving and helping. And it's quite interesting because we see that it's not just the Baha'is serving as guides, but other friends who fall in love with the temple and say, well, we want to help too, and they start helping as guides. But usually we will have between 3 and 6 or 8 guides, depending on the days and the friends. And sometimes local communities, usually the weekend, will come all together to serve during a day. So they have a community service day to help and be there. And in terms of languages, I have no idea. I'm pretty sure almost all the languages have been spoken around that house of worship. But the most spoken are, of course, Spanish, a lot of Portuguese, because we have a lot of Brazilian friends visiting it, tourists and whatnot, English, and then we have French, German, I don't know, a lot of different languages. Every day it's a surprise.
Do you have brochure in different language or you have only Spanish?
We have some materials in different languages. Actually, we're producing more materials now. There's a little prayer book that is gifted to each visitor in the house of worship, and it's also in Portuguese and English, because those are the 2 main languages.
What time we closing, and how many room you have for volunteer there, or how they're going to eat the food?
So
You have
what
for
time
people-
are we closing? Sorry, that was the first question.
Yes. What time temple open, what time close?
So it depends on the time of the year, because winter and summer will have different times. But usually we will open around 9 in the morning and close around 6 or 7 p.m. But the direction of the temple is always trying to find new ways to open more hours, depending again on the capacity of the guides, and to change some of those times to see how we can accommodate better to the public. The objective is to have it as open as possible, but within safety measures and the capacities of the friends and the volunteers, so not to exhaust them.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe people have question, but how many room they have here for the volunteer guide to stay there for 2 months or few months? How going to eat food? They are around going to restaurant, or you having some food for there?
Mona, do you want to say something about that?
There are a few properties on the temple grounds. So for example, I lived in a house that was created that's maybe like a 5-minute walk away from the temple itself, which is at the top of the hill. And there was five of us. There were 5 girls that were living there, and then there's another house close by that I think accommodates maybe 4. And like I think 2 other properties. So I think all in all, I don't know, Tiago, maybe this is wrong, but I think
Maybe
all in all it can accommodate.
about
Sorry?
10 or 12.
Yeah.
But that is changing also. We're making some accommodations. But there's also the idea that the volunteers shouldn't just be on the temple ground, but also in the community near the house of worship. And we've been trying over the years different ways of making all of this work. And it's really an ongoing learning process for everyone, including special institutions.
I want to take the time. If Muna June and the Baha'i youth, they are active there. Your winter time, summer time in Chicago, they have time to come to guide. We don't have guide in the temple in Chicago. We need young people to come. Where
Don't try to steal the volunteers from my temple, please.
Thank you, Faride June. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, Ami Khanum, go ahead, please.
All right, aloha everyone. Lovely to see the friends, and thank you very much for this presentation. It has been very uplifting because I had the privilege, me and another girl here, Jinus Taifi, and another girl, three of us went for the inauguration. So, and I just sharing a little bit the bag they gave us over there, and teaching book, prayer books. So it was wonderful. I have a question, and that is that water fountain that is in the front, what do you know why that was put over there? It's in some ways it's unique, because other temples that we just see the pictures, this is the first one that I had the privilege to, for its opening, be there. That is one question that I have, and then the other one I forgot. Anyway. Hello.
So, yes, there is this reflecting pool.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it on screen. The reflecting pool right in front of the house of worship. It serves multiple purposes, actually. One of them is just aesthetic. It's a very fine line of water in front of the temple, and it allows some visual balance. But it is also a reflection of how the water connects with everything else in the surroundings, and it has allowed for some works to be done around the circulation of the water, and in the end, it was really an architectural decision. The rest just came as a consequence of that architectural decision.
Oh, it looks beautiful, especially with the pictures. And the other thing that I remember, because before year 2000, there was on radio, I remember that Mr. Hariri was interviewed, and he mentioned that in this temple he had talked to someone who was very old or something, that the beauty of it is that not only in a big group you can come and worship, but there are little corners that you can go over there and worship. I think this is unique compared to the previous worship houses that we had before. Is that true, or I'm making it up?
So I don't know about other houses of worship. Maybe others have different designs or galleries. I believe part of the design in Ishkavat allowed these galleries to happen. In this case, it's sort of a little niche that forms under each of the wings coming down, and where you are against the glass that allows to see all around. And it's quite true. It's a very different experience sitting in the benches around the center of the house of worship, or going to the sides and in one of those niches. Both the feeling, because it's not as overwhelming, you don't have this big space around you, this big dome around you. You have a lower ceiling made of wood, and it's very delicate and beautiful, and it's more intimate. But even the sound changes. Whenever a prayer is being recited or chanted, depending on where you're sitting, you will hear it in a different way. The acoustics in the building are really beautiful, but it has this subtle changes depending on where one sits.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Go ahead, please. Bob, Luis, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for this presentation, Tiago. It was beautiful. I haven't been there yet. My wife was at the inauguration, but my question is really about the numbers of people that are going there is so astounding. I mean, I can't believe 18,000 in one day, but that's an incredible amount. But there's I think it's Abdul Baha talked about the revelation of Baha'u'llah as like a garden, and some go around the garden, and some go inside and smell the fragrance, and others stay and dedicate their lives to the garden. And I'm just wondering if with all these people, how many people are staying in the garden, or is it just they all leave and they go back to their jobs? Are we seeing some results of, let's say, new declarations? I know we're not supposed to be concentrating too much on that, but do you see that happening around there?
That image by Abdul Baha is really beautiful, on how each one of us have a different approach and stays in a different area, and then can move from one to the other. But yes, we have seen some movement, and as you're mentioning, it is not the main purpose. This is not a place of indoctrination or how to say it?
What's the word?
I forgot the word, but it is a space of teaching. It is the house of worship is a silent teacher in itself. The way it attracts and touches the heart is a profound way of teaching. But the way this happens, I would say, is quite natural. It is because people are curious and start asking questions, and that's why the guides are so important, and the preparation and training of the guides is so important, because we want to make sure that everyone feels welcome, that they know that they can be anywhere they want to be in this gradual approach to the teachings of Baha'u'llah. And that they feel also comfortable that if they have questions, if they have interest, if they have curiosity, we'll receive them. And for that, specific programs have been developed. We have a program called Knowing the Baha'i Life, which is a whole day where people sign up once a month, and we have between 80 and 100 people going there, visitors from the temple that say, yes, I want to learn more, and they will start with that programs, and it's 4 sessions, and then they'll connect with a local community near them and participate in other activities and the community life little by little. And so different ways have been devised to be able to allow people to approach however they feel more comfortable with. But we've also learned of people who have come dozens of times and never spoke to everyone, and they just come on their own, and then suddenly they feel it's time to ask my questions. And for the very first time, they will approach a guide, or they will approach somebody at the library, or someone they feel some sort of connection, and start asking their questions. And let us know that I've been coming for the past 6-8 months, and I just wanted to be here on my own, but now it's time I learn more about why you're here and what this is about. And really, every experience is quite unique. We've had people coming and saying, well, I've already dreamt about this, and I already know the building because of my dreams, and I just wanted to come and confirm it, and I'm here to learn more about this. And it's always shocking and amazing to receive these sorts of confirming conversations.
Thank you, Tiago. Do you have anything to add?
Thank you.
iPhone 2, go for it.
That might be me. Allah again. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I enjoyed a lot. As we know, in designing the Baha'i temples, always the important aspect of the local culture, belief, tradition is being considered as much as possible. The best example maybe is the Lotus Temple in India. Now my question is about this particular temple. What are the local elements is being considered, and is part of this design?
That's a very interesting question, because this local element or culture has many different expressions. And here in this case, I would say the most obvious one is, or one of the most obvious one is the choice of the different materials and how they blend with the surroundings. And particularly the work around the house of worship has a profound local influence. And the way the wood and the stone and the more natural materials have been used here, and they are the only things on display, has also a significance. Now, the design itself is not influenced by local culture. I think it would be extravagant to try to fit it into Chilean or South American culture in itself. But that's fine too, because South America is so diverse. To try to pinpoint one culture or highlight one culture above other cultures would have been tricky. And it could have actually a negative impact. And in this case, the design has achieved such a welcoming quality to it that people feel a connection, even if there's not a specific or explicit cultural element visible for them. But the rest of these other elements come so naturally, and it blends so well with the surrounding and the gardens, that it feels something that they sort of know or want to know, and that's a very strong bond.
Yeah, they made it their own.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Make
Thank
it
you
their
very
own.
much.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, go ahead.
You're muted.
Am I?
Yes.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank
so
you.
I just want to really thank you so much, and your daughter as well. The enthusiasm was just palpable. I had the honor of being one of the guests for the opening, for the inauguration, and it was so fascinating because I believe it was the House of Justice that asked that a large gathering of indigenous people walk up the mountain together. And there was such humility and such quietness and reverence and appreciation. All of these feelings were conjured up. And I just thought to myself, you know, it was like all of the people that suffered in Chile for the Baha'i faith, Mapuche, all of the indigenous people who suffered, and they knew one day that they too would have this house of worship. I felt that there was an embracing of those feelings. And it was so interesting because I was sharing a room with Jacqueline Left Hand Bull, former member of the National Assembly. And the next day we took a taxi up there, and there was a pile of people. Of course, everybody's really excited, and they were yelling and laughing and screaming, you know. So it was as if the quiet came ceremoniously. And yeah, our beloved House of Justice gave them that, you know, that opportunity. It was really, it's always stuck in my heart. The other thing I just wanted to mention about, you know, these little alcoves on the outside of the temple, for those people who haven't been there, and I encourage you to go there. Because I'm so fond of stone and rocks, mountains, I'm from the mountainous area of Canada. I just went into one of those alcoves and I couldn't help it. I had to put my cheek against the stone. It really, that's the ability of stone and what it can do. Thank you. Thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you did that. A lot of us go against the stone and really feel the texture and everything it brings. And also thank you for bringing that memory about the special attention to indigenous and First Peoples, because it wasn't just for the dedication, it continued year after year afterwards. And there is a continuous attention to how they participate and connect and have their own time and space. There have been special moments and ceremonies in the gardens with invitations of communities from different regions of Chile. They're very different backgrounds and cultures, but also from other countries coming and visiting. And it has been a constant throughout the years. And I think it is quite meaningful for our region. South America, the very first people who responded massively to the message of Baha'u'llah were these communities. And for decades, they have shown the strength of their response to Baha'u'llah, and it was palpable there. So thank you so much for sharing again these memories.
Tiago, I wanted to mention that we have the privilege of having Luis and Bob here almost every week to support this fireside. Luis has been a member of our National Spiritual Assembly and an indigenous one, and her presence adds so much. Their presence adds so much support, love, and encouragement to us all. I am so grateful, Bob and Luis, that whether you're in Belize, whether you're back in Canada, you're always supporting us. We love you. Thank you.
We love you
Thank
too.
you, Farouz.
We love you too.
Thank you. We have one more question, and then there are friends who will stay here for the prayers. And I hope Mr. QE Singh, don't go anywhere. Shu, don't go anywhere. And Narges Khanum, please stay. So Mona, don't laugh. Please go ahead, Faride Jun.
Yeah, I was so excited about Baha'i House of Worship. I have one question, one comment. First of all, the time building the temple, the foundation, I visited my husband travel teaching in Chile. That was great bounty. And my husband is now next door. But another thing is, Baha'u'llah said House of Worship is silent teacher. But about 100 pages, Beloved Guardian said Baha'i should teach the faith outside the temple. You know, all the people coming. Because in Chicago, I ask people, welcome to Baha'i House of Worship. You have any question, welcome to ask. Because many people shy. If you ask them, do you have any question, they will answer. But the last I have question is that, because you have big land, garden, I remember. Do you build it, library, hospital, many things, many buildings must build around the Baha'i House of Worship that Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha said. Do you have any of them or not yet? Thank you.
No, not yet. And this is a process that the House of Worship will guide when the House of Justice, I'm sorry, will guide when it's time to move on to those next stages. And first, I believe we need to continue focusing on what you just mentioned, to teach whoever wants to learn about Baha'u'llah and his teachings, embrace them whenever they feel they want to participate in whatever activity there is, or to be part of the community if they so feel, and they're more than welcome to do it. And also to continue with the efforts of community building and training and systematize everything that we have been all doing in our own communities, because that's the foundation for these future auxiliary buildings.
Thank you very much.
With your permission, Tiago, Mariam, and also Mona, we will start the devotional part of the fireside, which is only probably 10-15 minutes. We have Mr. Q. Singh, Ms. Shu, Narges Khanum is leaving, Mr. Liu after such a long time, Mr. Sandeep, and also Pina. There are so many beautiful comments, Tiago, for you and for Mariam. It is just amazing. Maybe I will copy copy them all and send it, copy the chat and send it to you. Dr. Magharibi and Roya Khanum, very, very welcome. And now, Tiago.
Thank you all, and thank you for your patience. I mean, this has been a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Well, Tiago, this is the first one. There will be other opportunities. Tiago, would it be possible? I don't know if I know your mother language is French, but will you start a prayer with whichever language you like? With your permission, I will dedicate this devotional part to all the people, all the pioneers who went to their pioneering posts in 1951 for 1952 after the 10-year crusade. Tiago's grandfather was Mr. Masrour, and we will just dedicate our prayers to all the pioneers who actually instituted all of this enthusiasm and hard work. Really appreciate it for you being here all the time and supporting. Tiago, I love you. I love you. Give my love to the whole family. Mariam, don't go anywhere. And Mr. Q, he's saying, thank you for showing the video. Thank you. So why don't we start with you? I know I probably upset you, but I can't. Mr. Q is saying, would you start with a prayer, please? Dr. Hissam, thank you.
Okay. I just want to say that from our part of the world, it seems incredible that a building so far away is uniting the people of the whole world. I like to say this unity prayer, but in Chinese, dedicating to all the pioneers and also to the house of worship in Chile. 我的上帝啊，我的上帝，联合你仆役们的心智，向他们显现，显明你的伟大的指令，愿他们奉行你的律法，遵守你的诫命。上帝啊，帮助他们努力成事，赐予他们信奉你的力量。上帝啊，切勿让他们孤立无援，而以你的知识之光引导他们的前进步伐，并以你的爱振奋他们的心灵。诚然，你是他们的天助者，他们的主宰。好了。Yo siempre más amor. Adakah perkara sukaran kesukaan selain Tuhan? Katakanlah terpujilah Tuhan. Ya Tuhan, semua hamba-Nya dan semua tunduk pada Beritanya adakah alam kesukaran selain Tuhan. Katakanlah terpujilah Tuhan. Ya Tuhan, semua hambanya dan semua tunduk pada perintahnya.
Here is another remover of difficulties in Kiswahili, which I learned in 1980 when we were in Tanzania. Hakuna mtu awezaye kuondoa shida isipokuwa Mwenyezi Mungu. Sema Mwenyezi Mungu na asifiwe. Yeye Mwenyezi Mungu. Wote ni watumishi wake na wote wanaishi kwa mapenzi yake. The Bible. I'll say a prayer for humanity in Chinese. 怀有人心的主啊，您是博施全能的，我们是您天佑庇护下的仆人，以你仁惠的目光看顾我等，使我们眼睛明亮，听觉敏锐，并使我们内心充满体谅仁爱。以您的福音使我们的灵魂畅快。主啊，指引我们进入你天国之路，以您圣灵的气息使我们苏醒，赐予我们永恒的生命与无尽的荣耀，团结人类，启发世人，使我们遵循您的道路，祈求您的喜悦，并寻求你天国的奥秘。上帝啊，以您不朽的誓约来使众心紧密团结，承认您是博施济众者、慈善者、全能者。阿卜杜巴哈。
Dear friends, I'd like to chant Hidden Verse Station number 4 for all those who sacrificed for this house of worship and are sacrificing their time, their energy, and their love to promote the beloved cause of Baha'u'llah. فسيء الإنصاف كلهم أوشخ جزء التي معشوق مهجيرا وكلهم تولد كبي مطلوب روح جولا أوشخ صودخ رو حيوم تدر رسولانس وموت در فرو سربشان السبز حولي و علومشان از اشتباه معدس از 100,000 جان درگذرند و به کوی جانان شتابند. I'm in English. Ocean of justice, whither can a lover go back to the land of his beloved? And what seeker findeth rest away from his heart's desire? To the true lover, reunion is life, and separation is death. His breast is void of patience, and his heart has no peace. A million lives he would forsake to hasten to the abode of his beloved.
Hello, my friends. I would like to offer this too, a prayer in dedication from the house of worship in Chile. O Lord, unto thee I repair for refuge, and toward all thy signs I set my heart. O Lord, whether traveling or at home, or in my occupation or in my work, I place my whole trust in thee. Grant me then thy sufficing help, so as to make me independent of all things. O thou who art unsurpassed in thy mercy, bestow upon me my portion, O Lord, as thou pleasest, and cause me to be satisfied with whatsoever thou hast ordained for me. Thine is the absolute authority to command the Bab. In Hindi it is, हे परमेश्वर, मैं तेरी शरण में आना चाहता हूँ. मैं तेरी सभी चिन्हों की ओर अपना हृदय केंद्रित करता हूँ. हे नाथ, चाहे मैं यात्रा पर रहूं या घर पे, अपने व्यवसाय या अपने काम पर, मैं अपना पूरा भरोसा तुझ में ही रखता हूँ. अतः फिर मैं करुणा के स्वामी, मुझे भरपूर सहायता प्रदान कर, जिससे मैं सबसे स्वतंत्र हो जाऊं. हे तू जो असीम कृपा का स्वामी है. हे नाथ, अपने प्रसन्नता के अनुसार मुझको मेरा अंश प्रदान कर, जिससे और ऐसा कर दे कि जो भी तू मेरे लिए नियत करे मैं उसमें ही संतुष्ट रहूं. आदेश देने का पूरा अधिकार तेरा ही है. महात्मा बाप. Allow my friends.
Can I say a prayer too?
Of course, I'm sorry I was speaking for 10 minutes, but I was muted. So sorry. I just wanted to say, Tiago, after Yasmin Khanum, if you could say a prayer, and also Mariam and Mona, if she's still here. And sorry if I missed anyone. Anyways, go ahead, Yasmin Khanum, go ahead.
I would like to say this prayer for all the pioneers, past, present, future, and all the temples. It is blessed is the spot, but I'm going to say it in Spanish. Bendito es el sitio y la casa y la lugar y la ciudad y la corazón y la montaña, el refugio y la queva y la baile y la tierra y el mar y la isla y la paradera, donde se ha hecho mención de Dios, sea glorificado su alabanza. Ah, 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 ah. Thank you.
Dis, gloire à toi qui amènes tous les saints à confesser leur impuissance devant les multiples révélations de ta puissance. Et chacun des prophètes à reconnaître son néant devant la splendeur de ta gloire immuable. Par ton nom qui ouvre les portes du ciel et remplit d'extase l'assemblée céleste, je te supplie de me rendre apte à te servir en ce jour et de m'accorder la force d'observer les préceptes de ton livre. Ô mon Seigneur, tu sais ce qui est en moi, mais j'ignore ce qui est en toi. Tu es l'omniscient, l'informé.
Rompe las cadenas de este mundo y libera tu alma de la prisión del yo. Rompe las cadenas de este mundo y libera tu alma de la prisión del yo. Aprovecha tu oportunidad, pues no volverá a ti, no volverá a ti nunca más. Dios es suficiente para mí, Él en verdad es el que satisface todo. Dios es suficiente para mí, Él en verdad es el que satisface todo. Que en Él pongan su confianza los que confían. Que en Él pongan su confianza los que confían. Bahá'u'lláh, Bahá'u'lláh, Bahá'u'lláh. Bahá'u'lláh, Bahá'u'lláh, Bahá'u'lláh.
Louise, would you kindly say a prayer?
I have a very bad cold.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to thank everyone for creating this space tonight. Tiago, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mariam June, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mona, we love you. And I'm grateful to every single one of you. Thank you for being here. We will continue this next week with another beautiful program. Tiago, it's been my honor to get to know you. Furu Khanum, you want to say a prayer?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If it's time over, it's okay. No problem.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, please. But after that, I'm saying goodbye to everyone, but I'll stay behind because I would like to copy the chat for Tiago. So go ahead, Furu Khanum, please.
Yes. Allahumma ya Subuhun ya Quddus ya Hannanu ya Mannan فرج لنا بالفضل والإحسان إنك رحمن المنان اللهم يا سبوح يا قدوس يا حنان يا منان فرج لنا بالفضل والإحسان إنك رحمن المنان اللهم يا سبوح يا قدوس يا حنان يا منان فرج لنا بالفضل والإحسان إنك رحمن المنان إنك رحمن المنان Baha'u'llah, 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 Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah, Baha'u'llah, Baha'u'llah.
Thank you, Tiago. My greetings to your parents. Your father is my real cousin, you know. Give him my love. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, it was great presentation. Thank you so much, Mr. Masrour.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you.
I now wanted to volunteer. I speak Chinese, Mandarin. What's the shortest, like a volunteer period?
Whatever you decide.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Just need help.
Okay.
Feel free. Feel free to offer.
What
More
is the
than-
age group, if I can ask?
Age group of what?
For volunteering?
Less than 10.
Do you accept retired people?
We have children if they're accompanied with their parents, and there's no age limit.
There's no age limit? You sure?
No age limit.
All right. Thank you.
Everyone is welcome.
God willing. Let's see.
Thank you,
Excellent.
everyone. Thank you so much. Take care. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Such a nice
Thank
and
you very much.
perfect
Thank you very
program.
much.
Thank you.
Allahu
Good night.
Akbar.
It was very
Thank you.
good.
Allah Akbar. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
It was my absolute pleasure, Tiago. By the way, let me stop